let's talk about thesis statements. So, a thesis statement, as you know, is a statement where you, as a writer, clarify, affirm, defend, make very clear the specific idea that's going to focus and organize the entire essay. So, it's a powerful statement. It's never a question. It is often the answer to a question, but it is always a statement, and it is the single most powerful statement in your essay. So there's a number of metaphors that people like to use when talking about thesis statements. Sometimes they say that thesis provides a roadmap for your readers so that they know where you are going in an essay. Other people say that a thesis is like a compass. No matter where you go in your essay with your ideas, you always return back to the thesis. Other people say it's like a rope that guides your readers through the essay. You hand them one end and kind of pull them along through the essay using the thesis as the controlling device. Other people say it's a contract with your reader, that you shake on it, that you say, here's what we're going to talk about in this essay, and that is exactly what the reader expects. And a friend of mine likes to compare thesis statements to shish kebabs, that while you may stack up a variety of tasty things, red peppers and mushrooms and pineapple on your skewer, it is the stick that goes through all of those that's the thesis. So lots of possible metaphors for thesis statements, and I have my own. So my metaphor for thesis statements is that the thesis statement is the queen bee. So if you think about beehives for just a moment, you probably know that every beehive has just one queen bee. She's bigger than all the other bees. She is in charge of what happens in that beehive, and everybody else that lives and works in that beehive reports back to that queen bee. All those worker bees, those drone bees, they have to do exactly what the queen bee wants them to do, or they don't survive for very long in that particular beehive. So you can think about your thesis statement like the queen bee of your essay. She has to be big enough, strong enough, powerful enough to control, focus, and organize the entire essay. So let's talk about some general guidelines really quickly. Your thesis statement or your main claim has to be debatable, right? So you have to ask yourself, would reasonable people be able to disagree with me about this? If not, I have not created a thesis statement, particularly not a thesis statement for an argumentative essay. Also, the thesis needs to be narrow, so it needs to be focused and specific. It can't be so broad that anything fits underneath it. It needs to be specific. So you want to be thinking about the scope of your writing task. Your thesis needs to be something that people will actually care about. So if the topic only matters to you and nobody else, that is probably not a good thesis statement. So let's practice. Here's an example thesis statement. More preschools should introduce toddlers to interactive technology like tablets in order to stimulate faster cognitive development and greater creativity. So let's ask ourselves, is this debatable? Would reasonable people be able to disagree with me? I'm guessing yes, right? I know that I probably disagree with this, and many of you as well. And there will be people on the other side of the issue, so it is definitely debatable. What about, is it narrow enough? And it does seem pretty specific. It's talking about preschools and toddlers, specifically what should be done, in this case, introducing interactive technology, and why it should be done. So it is very narrow. And does the topic matter to anyone but the writer? I'm guessing that yes, lots of people have something at stake in the development of young children. Let's try one more. Twitter and Facebook are essential to social change and revolution because of their wide reach and easy access. So again, is it debatable? Definitely. Would reasonable people be able to disagree with this writer? Certainly. Is it narrow enough? And in this case, it's talking about Twitter and Facebook, so not all social media, and it's being specific that it is essential to two things, social change and revolution, and then it's also explaining why. So that's definitely narrow enough that it fits the scope of an argumentative essay. And then, does this topic matter to anyone but me? I would say that it definitely matters to people all around the world who are looking at these issues and debating them and talking about them. So those are some questions that you want to keep in mind as you are working on your thesis statement. And remember, this is a draft or working or tentative, whatever you want to call it, thesis statement. So you should definitely expect it to mature over time. It will evolve as you write. The more you learn, the more you listen to the other sides of this issue, the more your thesis will become more focused. And then as you start writing, you want to keep refining that thesis so that it really is this queen bee that can control and focus and organize your entire essay.